5 hosts, 4 divisions, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy Grail Podcast. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Paul, Zack Power, Andrew Rinaldi, Corey Swartz, and Deana Weinheimer.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 42 of Field Pass Hockey's American Hockey League podcast, The Holy Grail. This episode is for November 17th, and we are here to give you a recap of the last week in American Hockey League action. So to start off the show here, like usual, I've got a rapid fire question for you guys for our introduction. So you are at an arena that you've never been to before. You stroll into the team store. What's the first thing you are going to be buying?
I'm Andrew Rinaldi. For those who may not remember me, I did take a bit of a break last week. And I'm a guy who loves collecting just T-shirts of all kinds. I want to find a design that really pops out at me, one that I can strut and stroll my way in style. So that's what I'm going with.
And I'm Corey Swartz. That's actually a really good question. I feel like it's different in a lot of places what I look for. I've always looked for the smaller things. I always like looking at pucks, what collectibles I can put in my pocket and walk out, obviously with paying first. Of course, I'm not a thief, but, wherever you can, kind of fit small like pucks or, little collectibles won't break the bank type of thing, since I'm not a huge fan of spending a lot of money. That's sort of my go-to.
And I'm Deana Weinheimer. Like Andrew, I took a bit of a break last week, but back again this week. So I guess not so fun fact, but I like to collect mascot plushies. So the first thing I look for is there a plush or some sort of soft figurine of the mascot? If so, automatic buy. I also like to collect shot glasses. Don't use them. I just have a nice little display in, our little hockey cave. So for me, it's those two items right there.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? My name is Jeremy Paul. I cover the Cleveland Monsters for Field Pass Hockey, and I have to say I'm a lot like Corey in this way. I don't love spending a ton of money, so I normally check out the clearance rack because you can usually find some pretty good stuff there. And I also collect jerseys, but I'm the kind of guy where I don't care if you shipped the guy off 2 years ago. If you've got a nice jersey there, nobody needs to know that I bought this in 2022 when the last time he suited up was in 2018. So I head to the clearance rack and I grab the cheapest jersey I can find.
Yeah, and I'm Zack Power, and I'm pretty well with Jeremy on this one, and I'm going for that fifth line forward or that third string goalie. I want that player who's only played about 3 games with that organization ever, and I want his jersey.
I love that Jeremy says, I don't want to spend a lot of money, but then he goes for the largest ticket item in the store.
Sure, fair enough. But hey, if those things are normally $220, full price, and I can get one for $140, that's a steal. I'll take it every day.
Okay, fair. I can't rag on you too hard, but all right, we're going to go ahead and move on to some breaking news. So Utica's Mason Gertson has been suspended for 6 games as a consequence of his actions in Saturday's game at Syracuse. Now, Gertson was suspended under the provisions of AHL Rule 70.10 after receiving a game misconduct for leaving the bench for the purpose of starting an altercation. Following this, Gertson will actually be missing Utica's games on Friday, November 18th at Rochester, Saturday the 19th at home against Rochester, November 23rd against the Belleville Sens, the 25th and the 26th at Charlotte, and November 30th versus Laval. But how did this all play out? We've seen clips of the fights, but not necessarily leading up to it. So let's just go ahead and watch this play out. So heading into the fight, watch the 222s there. Syracuse forward PC Labrie comes together with Utica's Riley Walsh. The two spilled into the boards, and then Gertson comes out. And then it doesn't really look like it was much of a fight. I don't think PC Labrie was really wanting this, but it happened anyway.
Doesn't even look like Geertsen kind of wanted it. I mean, I know he's stepping up for his boy, but he's not really trying to get loose. And I mean, they start throwing punches here, but it doesn't. It almost seems like I think he was expecting a line change. Maybe I saw a player kind of heading near the direction of the bench, and Geertsen was just fired up and wanted to respond to that. Especially, I mean, you're getting pumped 8-1 in the second period. You know, you gotta send a bit of a message there. And you know, I'd have to watch the replay again, but at first glance, it did look a bit slew-footish heading into the boards. So, you know, Geertsen's doing what he's got to do and for the team. Unfortunately, you do kind of have to have someone come off the bench if you're getting onto the ice. So, yeah, that's one that's plainly laid out in the rule book there. The most famous example that's always came to my mind was that fight night between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders where I believe it was Michael Haley going after the goaltender for Pittsburgh, and Eric Goddard came flying off the bench. You know, it's one of those where, you know, you understand what he's doing in the moment, but the rule book is there plain and simple. And, you know, Mason's gonna just have to eat this one.
Overall, Mason Geertsen getting there was a 4 minutes worth of penalties, bench penalty actually, for a player leaving the bench, 5 minutes for fighting, and a 10-minute misconduct for leaving the bench. And then, of course, afterwards, the league announcing the 6-game suspension.
Can I just say how much I love the league's use of the language as a consequence of his actions? Like, I think that is always relatively more comical than it needs to be. I just think that it's like the pettiest way that the committee could dole out a suspension, and I don't know that any other league uses that term, and if they do, that's my ignorance, but it's just, I love it.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, time to look back in the week that was in AHL hockey with our weekly news recap.
Yeah, we had a pretty good milestone alert. It was 300 career wins for Belleville Senators head coach Troy Mann, who, you know, spent a lot of his time as a coach over with the Hershey Bears. And, you know, I remember actually getting to be there kind of behind the scenes of things the day that it was his first day, his introductory press conference back prior to the start of the 2014-15 season when he was named the Bears head coach. You know, he was an assistant coach for the Bears for a long time. It actually started, you know, way back when the Bears were winning Calder Cups there, where he was, you know, kind of behind the scenes on things, and, you know, had a stint in the ECHL after the Bears kind of went through some coaches, and, you know, returned after, you know, a stint in the ECHL in 2013-14, and was with the Bears through the 2017-18 season before being named the coach up in Belleville. So congratulations to Troy, very well deserved, and is doing a fantastic job up there in Belleville.
And now, as it is every week, it's time for the league's Howie's Hockey Tape AHL Player of the Week. So getting the honor for last week is a goaltender from the San Diego Gulls, Lucas Dostal. Now, Dostal stopped 83 of 86 shots and earned a pair of victories on the road across 3 starts last week for the Gulls. Then on Tuesday evening in Henderson, he actually earned his first shutout of the season behind a 28-save performance, backstopping San Diego to a 7-0 win over the Silver Knights. Then on Friday, he was carrying another shutout into the third period, ultimately finishing with 27 saves in a 2-0 loss to Bakersfield. And then on Sunday, he turned aside 28 shots and allowed only a single goal late in the third, as San Diego earned a 4-1 win at Ontario. Now he's 5-5-0 and 11 appearances for the Gulls this season, 2.74 goals against average, a .918 save percentage. Plus, I have to put this clip on here. Absolute robbery. Watch this coming out. And, a nice little flick and spin to really sell that save.
I like the little how do you do, raising the glove up, like, yeah, I got it.
Settle down, Patrick.
Very, very Patrick Waugh-esque.
That's a look
There's
what
no
I've
drop
done moment
it
right
for
there.
this.
And with all the camo on the ice, I mean, they probably didn't even see it coming.
Hey,
Oh, no. Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
not. You didn't see
Well,
that, did you?
Speaking of goaltenders, it's not often that we have ourselves a goalie goal, but we had one last weekend. Let's take you down to Chicago. Jesper Wallstedt in the final seconds of the game, right into the empty net. Lucas Dahlstall was actually the last player to do so. Speaking of goaltenders, and a great accomplishment for him, for sure.
Andrew, how you doing over there, buddy?
we'll talk about it later in the episode. I'll tell you that much. But I mean, hey, for his first AHL win, getting a little bit of insurance there. I mean, congratulations to Jesper, and I'll talk a little bit more about him as well. I got a lot cooked up for you this week. But as
Can
we're
I
sticking,
say that the star of the clip is the fan at the very end that just unceremoniously bolts upright and then just walks away?
he's seen enough. That's
It's the very first thing that Andrew pointed out to me, because we were together this weekend watching some Griffins hockey, and the moment he saw that clip, the first thing he pointed out was that fan just unabashedly leaving. The second that puck hit twine, he was like, "I'm out. Thanks though."
Yeah,
Life is
I've
a
never seen a
Chicago
more
fan.
"I'm done" moment yet in this in this season. But again, I guess the theme early on here is going to be goalies, because AHL grad Roberto Luongo has been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Luongo had a long career in the NHL, but actually had 35 starts between the regular season and playoffs with the Lowell Lock Monsters in the 99-2000 season and the Louisville Panthers in the 2000-2001 season. I mean, I would probably pay some good money for a Lowell Luongo jersey, but we've kind of already passed that segment. So if anyone's out there and is maybe interested in making some money on a nice little replica like that, well, I won't want to give my phone number on the air, but you can DM me on Twitter.
There you go. And we also have a couple of really significant NHL veterans who have signed some PTOs in the AHL this last week. So the third overall pick in the 2013 draft, Alex Galchenyuk, is on a tryout with the Colorado Eagles. And this past weekend, he scored 2 points in 2 games. You know, he had a short stint with the Marlies back in 2020, 2021. He had 8 points, 2 goals, and 6 assists through 6 games. And Alex Galchenyuk just feels like a name to me, y'all, that like you just hear his name over and over again, and you keep hoping that like eventually something sticks for the guy, and it just seems like it hasn't worked out. But Colorado is hoping that they can find something there.
Yeah, we also have a pair of players making an impact on the Lehigh Valley Phantoms for this weekend. The biggest of which is Artem Anisimov, who is returning to the AHL for the first time since the 2009 Calder Cup playoffs, when he was a member of the Hartford Wolfpack, when he had 37 goals and was 5th in points with 81. It's a rehab stint for Anisimov. He signed a PTO with the Flyers for training camp, but actually hurt his foot during the course of that camp and hasn't gotten to dress for a regular season game. But the other guy that Lehigh Valley has at the same time is forward Patrick Brown, who is a little bit more of a recent AHL player, having last spent time during the 2020-2021 season and was a member of the 2019 Calder Cup champion Charlotte Checkers team. So those are 2 big ads for the Phantoms. We're going to talk a little bit later about this, but it's a big pair of games for the Phantoms, and they're going to have 2 big guys in their roster for it. So it's very exciting times to be a Phantoms fan.
Good old Artie Party. Glad to see him back on North American ice. I believe he was in the KHL last season, but I'll be watching his performance to see how he looks. But finally, and stop me if you guys have heard this one before, but the Belleville Senators and the Laval Rockets are partnering up again on a trade with future considerations. This time it is Belleville actually acquiring Brennan Saunier, who is a forward. Now, he has yet to appear in the AHL this season, but with the ECHL's Trois Rivières, he has 1 assist in 2 games. And of course, in his 4th season as a pro, a total of 59 career AHL contests, all with Lehigh Valley. So far, he has recorded 7 goals and 6 assists for 13 points.
The last time these two teams went together for a trade that involved future considerations, Belleville ended up getting a player that's now currently leading their team in points at over a point a game pace. That's Jake Lucchini. So I don't know why Laval thought this was a good idea to go ahead and give their division rival another free forward. Well, not free. It's future considerations, which, by this point, you kind of figure the kid's got a ton of potential, but he can't really stick around with any one team in the league. So, but at any rate, we'll see if the new opportunity brings some success here for Saulnier.
I will say with Brennan Saulnier, as someone who got to watch him plenty when he was in Lehigh Valley, it's definitely a muscle addition for, to pick him up. He's a very tough guy. He's a very, spirited guy. This is a definite pickup for, looking to add a little bit of toughness, have a guy that sticks up for his teammates type of thing. He did that plenty in Lehigh Valley, very good toughness add, I'd say.
Now that we have looked back on the week in AHL action, it is time for my absolute favorite segment, Swipe Left and Swipe Right. So, Andrew, we're going to go in alphabetical order here. You're up first.
All right. Well, again, as I said, alluded to earlier, and we're keeping up with the goalie theme of this episode, but, with my extensive viewing of the Central Division here and the Chicago and Grand Rapids beats, I just got to tell you guys, you got Pyotr Kochekov for Chicago. You have Jesper Wallstead for Iowa. Sebastian Kosa in Grand Rapids, Yaroslav Askarov at the Milwaukee Admirals. The Central Division is the place for young, up-and-coming goaltenders in this league. And it just seems like whatever matchup you go to, whatever weekend series you got, you're going to be seeing at least one, maybe two, or if you're lucky, three of these guys. And it's creating for a lot of tight-knit action. That really kind of heightens the drama, I think. It might not be as much goal scoring as you'd like, but you know what? You might just see a goalie pot one. So I love the young talent in that, and I think if goalies are your thing, the Central Division is where it's at.
Oh man, Andrew, you make this so tough for me because I really want to swipe right on that, but I can't because I have to say the Atlantic is the place for the goaltenders with the kids there. Is that you got, Lehigh Valley is Samuel Erson, Providence is Brandon Busey. He's looking really good. Wilkes-Barre has Philip Lindbergh. Hershey has Hunter Shepard. These are just the young goalies. There's the two top tandems in the AHL come from the Atlantic in Providence and Hershey in the standings board right now. I think the Central's pretty good, but I would dare to say the Atlantic gives them a run for their money, honestly. I think if we get a true full-blown all-star game where we have three of these goalies, I assume will still be the rule, maybe more. That's going to be the matchup. I think, it'll be Central versus Atlantic will be the final matchup. If it's the tournament style, I don't know the full details on how the tournament style thing usually goes. If it's going to be like 2020 was so long ago, by the way, I think that's going to be the difference maker in that, honestly.
I guess we'll have to see in Laval.
I think on paper, you're onto something. I think that those four names should absolutely pop. And I think at some point in this season they will. I think even as you look at a Sebastian Kosa, he hasn't necessarily consistently played in Grand Rapids. And so part of me is a little iffy. Also the omission of Matt Murray, not that one, but the other Matt Murray in that list of Central Division young goaltenders feels a little disrespectful. I have to say though, I think the North has some decent goaltending in the pipelines. You've got Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who I just miss saying his name. You've got Daniil Tarasov in Cleveland. You've got when he's down, Akira Schmid playing there too. There are just some really good young goaltenders in the A right now. I will give you the slight edge in the Central, the slightest edge. I'll swipe right, but it's fun to watch these young goaltenders find their prime here. It feels like this has become a little bit more of a league for developing really talented goaltenders, and it feels like this is a pipeline that the NHL teams are using more frequently. And so for that, I'm really excited to see what the future has in store for all these goaltenders.
I don't know how I feel. I'm very, very split. Corey made some very good points. Actually, you know what? Jeremy made some really good points as well. Everybody besides the Marlies seems to have a decent goaltender up and coming, and even then, all the Marlies goaltenders are in the NHL, so that kind of says something. Can I close the app? Can I come back?
I'm
You know what?
100%
I'm
with
you
Zach.
know, on the slight edge, just because Wallstead looked good. Askarov I like, and Kochekov I do like, but I don't really think he's all that there this year for some reason. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and hope that we can kind of talk about our love for other goaltenders once we match.
Did
So
you
check
just
out
say?
Bid just get his first.
I was about ready to say.
Last night.
He just got a shutout in the NHL, right?
Yes. Now, to be fair, he's been getting a little bit litty in the A when he's been down, but the blue line's a little different than what it looked like last year. So
Yeah, and that's entirely what I mean, right?
Benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, that's entirely what I mean.
I'm just going, like I said, 100% with Zach here. I totally agree that it's just, I want to just kind of close out of the app because, again, what he just said, Corey and Jeremy both made great points. I mean, if you want to find the next big star when it comes to hockey goaltending, you're going to find it in the American Hockey League, I think. It's turned into such a great development place for young goaltenders. Period. But I can't exactly say this is the division that has the best. So, yeah, I'm just going to close out and maybe we can revisit some other time.
I'm sorry, Zach's comment about talking about other goaltenders we love when we match. As someone has to actually use these apps, that got me, honestly. It really got me. So I was, we were talking about stuff we'd buy at stores for a team when we go there. And I'm a really a look but don't touch kind of person when it comes to jerseys, because I know it'll, absolutely ruin, it'll be a financial decision that I will not financially recover from. But today I was looking at it, and Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys, we're starting to see more of these things pop up around the AHL. I have to give it to the Hershey Bears because they constantly reinvent the wheel when it comes to these jerseys. They're killing it with these things, man. Like they every time you think they've done everything they can with it, they find another way to redesign it. Like I love the, maybe it's just me loving the, the purple pink mixed with the Bears chocolate colors. It's fantastic. Them adding the I Fight For sign down there in the corner that, you can actually pick up at games and fill out, and they have you hold them up at a certain point during the game. I love it. They announced for the first time that they're going to be selling like a limited run of replica jerseys for it. I may break down and I may buy one of these on Sunday. They look so good. Every AHL team does them, but I think Hershey does them just a little bit better, honestly.
Honestly, I am a huge fan of, because I've seen other Hockey Fights Cancers jerseys that has the I Fight For kind of plaque, or I don't know what other word to really use for it, but it's always so small. This is large. You can really, it's just so prominent, and I love that. And that Hershey brown, that chocolate brown with that purple, it just works. I'm going to swipe right on this.
Yeah, I think if it didn't include that little placard at the bottom, I would be saying like, okay, like it looks good, but it kind of is. I mean, it's just a purple version of their standard jersey, it just kind of feels the same, but I think that gives a little more character, makes it a little more meaningful, and that's what puts it over the edge for the right swipe. Just that little bit of uniqueness to it.
Yeah, Andrew, I kind of have a similar thought to you. I mean, I think like teams don't generally think too far outside of the box with these in terms of they usually just go with the lavender, or the purple, and they call it a day. But I think that addition of the I Fight For and also the boldness of keeping the brown in the equation, like that to me, I would never. If you would have said, "Hey, we're going to throw you a jersey. It has purple and brown on it. What do you think?" I would say, "Go ahead and put that one back on the shelf." But this looks good. Like this looks good. I like it. It's the right swipe.
Jeremy brought a good point. Like, I love how bold this jersey is. And you know what? Part of me just wants to swipe just on how bold it is. The purple and the brown, I'm not so much a fan for. But I definitely love the placard in the corner. So you got me just on that alone. But again, we should match and try to talk about some different color schemes besides the brown. But yeah, let's match for now.
And they're going to have those filled out on Sunday, is my understanding. The players will have that on their jersey for the entire game too, and auctioned off for charity afterwards too. So I think it's just a full circle win in my book, honestly.
That's even better. Honestly. Like, don't make me use my super swipe this early in the month, please.
I can't say that I have the money to be able to even sit in for the auction, because those things, Hershey jersey auctions usually go pretty insane, but these ones especially, I just don't think I'm going to have the money to even be able to sit in the stands with the people that are going to bid on these things, honestly.
I totally agree. And while I was taking this screenshot, and thank you so much to the Hershey Bears for posting this on Twitter, so we could go ahead and use this photo. I also was able to find some of the jerseys for a few of the other teams. Now, for some of these teams, they're either doing their Hockey Fights Cancer game in another month, or they're doing it later in the month, so they don't have the jersey promo photos out yet, because some teams like to hold it a little bit close to the chest and kind of announce that the week before or a few days before. But I was just kind of curious of your guys' thoughts on some of the other teams. So up here is the Belleville Senators, kind of just replacing one of the colors in their standard jerseys with the purple. It's still, stands out. It's different, but compared to Hershey's, maybe not as much of a bold choice.
Yeah, I think the B there stands for boring. I'm about falling asleep looking at it.
I think it's clean. I think it's so, I don't know. I'm so minimalist when it comes to jerseys. I will be the first to admit it. It's clean. It looks good. I like this a lot. I don't know that I like it more than Hershey, but I like it.
Very subtle.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I actually like the subtlety a little bit more. It feels kind of like, that they, it reminds you of like a Pink the Rink kind of night or something like that, where they turn the blue line to pink, which the Bears are also doing on Sunday. Where it feels like it's in line with that. It's subtle. It's turning the lights a different color for the time just on a jersey. I think it'll look better in person also.
All right. And then up next is the Laval Rocket, basically taking their entire jersey lavender.
So I know I just got done saying that I liked simple.
Oh no.
I don't like this. Are my eyes deceiving me, or is that like an ombre, like white to lavender at the bottom?
Yeah, that's definitely like.
Oh, and it's on the sleeves too.
Shade. Oh. Yeah.
I don't like it because it looks like something happened in the wash. It doesn't look intentional.
I was gonna say it looks like it got stained.
Yeah. If it looked more intentional and it seemed like there was a method to it, cool. But this is tough.
I think they washed it with some Charlotte socks.
That also doesn't look thrilled to be wearing it, so that he can at least smile and I'd be like, okay, it's not bad, but he's just like, please let me take this off.
How would you feel if they left the Rocket the original color, the big R? If they left that, but
I think that would be better. I think I'm being a little overwhelmed with the lavender looking at this.
I understand.
I feel like it's like the lighting of the picture in a little bit, to be honest with you. Is it like it feels like it's like it's fading out. Like it was red and now it's been washed so many times that it's turning to pink, and like the color's slowly draining out of it. Just again, maybe it's another one that would look better in person. I'm not sure.
Well, and I don't think the promo shoot helps. Like, at least like in the case of Hershey, like the pants match the jersey, and you don't see the pants in the I don't know. You don't see the pants with the Senators, right? And so it doesn't like ruin it for me. The blue and the red here kind of ruin it for me, which is ignorant because I know what's going to happen the night that they come out on the ice, but still.
I feel like with Hershey's, like them having the brown and like kind of like a darker primary color to go with the lavender almost helps them a little bit in that case. Because like this one, instead of feeling like a washed out kind of feeling, it feels a little bit more like unique and a little more bold. Like it pops a little bit more. I'm not sure.
I do think that these shoots do look, in the jersey reveals, they look better with the full kit. Because I recall seeing Detroit's reverse retro and just thinking, oh my God, that is awful. And then when you start to see everything come together with the pants and the gloves, it's like, oh my God, that's awful, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh no.
So I think maybe if they had like a little more, if they kept the blue R, this would look better.
I totally agree. Now we're going to move on to Manitoba, which honestly, one detail I love about this jersey, and it's the way on the back with their names and things too, is look at the numbers. There's little flourishes on them of the actual like moose antlers. I don't know if that's the way that it is on their regular jerseys, but I saw that and I love that.
It is. That's kind of how they roll. I actually really like that. And I think this will go right in with what Jeremy likes with his minimalist approach, because, it keeps that blue for the moose, that primary color of theirs, and the lavender accents the rest of it. And I enjoy this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, I think what really does it for me is the striping on the sleeves and underneath the logo there. So if it weren't for that, like when I looked at it the first time, my eyes went right to the shoulder patches, right? And I think just like it's enough subtle changes throughout the jersey that I'm like, oh wow, that really works. If it were just those, I'd be like, okay, it's a little, little bland, a little too subtle, I think. But I think this is just the right amount of subtle in my book.
I like the blue. I like the blue of the logo, of the primary logo. Like, I think that makes it pop too. Although I have to say, I'm making an assumption here, and I'm going to guess that their jersey sponsor is it Canada Life? That feels like, is that correct? Can we get a lavender jersey ad? Can Canada Life can their PR team someone over?
That would be great. Honestly, I think that would just put this one over the top for me. But I'm seeing that, of course, you got the Winnipeg Jets logo. I'm wondering if the other patch is maybe like a special benefactor or something of any proceeds for the night. If so, they've got that in a nice lavender color. Come on, let's get the jersey sponsors on board here too. And now we're going to move on to another Bear logo here. We're moving on to the Providence Bruins.
Damn. I like that.
Yeah.
I love the Pooh Bear logo. I don't think you can lose with the Pooh Bear logo.
It's so good.
I mean,
startled a little bit.
I think it looks very stoic. I think I know you like having the growling, fierce bears, but, for 95% of a bear's life, it's got that very kind of, stoic expression to it. And I like that.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the all lavender, and we weren't quite all sold on it. But for some reason, this all lavender jersey just works. And I think it's just because of the simplicity. It doesn't have that ombre. And I agree, the Pooh Bear logo, one of my tops.
Well, and the white helps it. I think when you go with like a black and lavender, like it doesn't work. But I think when you have all the blank white space, and they use the blank space in the logo too, right? Like utilizing the white highlights of the bear, like that's good. Like it's just, this might honestly be my favorite to this point.
Right. And then we have the
Duh.
Rochester. Oh no, we know what Jeremy feels. The Rochester Americans with their specialty jersey for the month.
This is
Alf,
bad, guys.
I'm actually not. I might go a little bit on the other side here, Jeremy. Sorry, but I'm not just ignoring how it's clashing with the blue and red. I love the gray striping on it. It's a color we haven't seen. It's a little bit different. Yeah. That's all the more I'm really going to say about it, but I don't hate it.
I do. You can't even see the logo.
Well, and
you
I'm
can
also
see the logo.
If you, like, I know my eyes are awful, but it's just gross. You can't read it. You can't tell what's going on. It's
I agree with Andrew. Great blob.
Of the opinion. So a long time ago, we had a bonus round where we guessed what people ranked like the top jerseys in the AHL as, and the Americans were at the top. And that was when I was still on the Americans beat. And I still, for the life of me, cannot understand. I get the history of it, and I get why everybody loves it. I hate the Americans logo. Like, I think it's terrible. Like, I think it might be the worst in the AHL. And so that also doesn't help my feelings about this.
So you're coming in with a bias.
I'm just saying that it looks like John Tortorella still coaches that team. Like, that is what the logo tells me. Like,
No.
I'm off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Well, let's move on to another one. And I kind of included the screenshot of the tweet here. So this is going to be the Springfield Thunderbirds. But if you notice here, now these are going to be specialty warm-up jerseys for Bitsy's Army. Now, this is a new foundation that Will Bitton has started. I don't know the whole story behind it. That's going to be something that definitely I'm going to be looking closer into here. But he has this, this new thing called Bitsy's Army. So if you're wondering, well, why is the lettering a little weird? It's because it is a BA, and then down at the bottom, you can see the Springfield Thunderbird logo there at the bottom of the circle with the Bitsy's Army.
I like it. I think it's a different direction, and it being only for warm-ups kind of throws it in a little bit of a different tier in a sense. But great, I think it's a good cause. I think it's a good design. Definitely. So I give it a thumbs up for what it is. What it is to me.
I think you kind of have to look at it for a really long time to kind of understand what the logo is. Like, it reminds me of like the Minnesota Wild logo, right? You have to look at it for a long, long time to understand that this is actually an animal and a forest, not just a forest, right? So I kind of get where they were going, but I'm a man of simple taste and all for the cause, but not so much the rollout.
I love negative space, so I love the use of that white to make the BA, and I also think the touch of the Thunderbirds logo in at the bottom of the circle is really good. I'm excited to hear the story on this. I have to imagine that it's a really touching and meaningful story, so looking forward to that. Ditto.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add on this. It took me a minute to see the logo, but as now I'm looking at it, it sold me on it for sure.
All right. And again, this is a special theme jersey, kind of celebrating Bitsy's Army, which I just looked real quick, and on the Thunderbirds website, it's kind of in memorial for a cousin of Will Bitton, who bravely fought cancer for 7 years, but unfortunately and tragically passed away early in 2021 at just 32 years of age. So definitely a special cause for Will Bitton and the Springfield Thunderbirds. And then that's going to be it for the jerseys. Again, some of these teams just haven't published them yet. And, we're being a little critical at this, but it is all kind of in fun. Just because, yeah, we like to critique specialty jerseys. It's fun to look at all the different ways that the different teams approach a similar assignment.
Well, and the AHL not taking itself too serious, but also being willing to like honor moments like this is like why we get to make content like this. So shout out to them. Even shout out to the Americans for being bold enough to try something new with these kind of jerseys for sure. But I have to tell you all, I actually kind of forgot we were still in our swipe right, swipe left segment. So I had to regather my thoughts to come in with my hot take for the week. And it's I got a phone call from the New Jersey Devils, the New Jersey Devil himself, actually. And he called me to let me know that he was really sorry that the Devils have raided the cupboards in Utica. And so, folks, I'm calling it now. The Comets are going to go from top of the North to missing the playoffs this year.
So are you saying they're going to go from the top to missing the playoffs because of because of all of the missing players due to call-ups?
Due to call-ups, due to a lot of development of their young players. I just don't see it. I mean, and also the goaltending situation is strange with Mackenzie Blackwood being hurt, and so you're not going to have your consistent goaltending down in Utica. And that, I mean, obviously Vitek Vanacek looks like he's back in the lineup now, so he missed a couple of games. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be their year, and maybe that's just because they haven't started 13-0, and shame on me for having that in the back of my brain. But I don't know. I just don't, especially with the rest of the North, I just think that they're going to be a team that could be on the outside looking in come April.
Yeah, ever since that hot start, I mean, I know they ended up, number 1 seed in the North, but I mean, they got bounced by the Amherst in the playoffs, and in a really kind of, upstate New York rivalry, figure they'd want to like get up and get out and add one. I mean, credit to Rochester. They came out and played some great hockey to knock off the Comets. But I mean, just ever since then, it just seems like it's been real tough for them to get up and go. And I think it's going to be even harder this year because they're missing AJ Greer, who's now over in Providence, and they're reaping the benefits of his play and up there in Boston. And it's going to be tough sledding. The only thing that kind of makes me hesitate on it is that aside from Toronto, no one else is really kind of separating themselves from the pack up there in the North. I mean, yeah, Rochester's looking good, but Utica's also only played 10 games. And I mean, they had the one postponement. Their schedule has been a little light. It's ugly, but I mean, for example, they're only 1 point behind Laval, who's played 4 more games. They're only 3 points behind Syracuse, who's played 3 more games. I think they have some time to figure it out. I don't think it looks great, but I'm not ready to call them out of the race yet. So I'm going to swipe left on it.
I'm swiping right, and I'm coming in with a hot take that this is the New Jersey Devils way. We had a fun little season last year, and I can speak for a lot of places that the New Jersey Devils have, done this to over the past, is that they leave just enough AHL talent down there that they develop. They can keep some guys there, but when they take them, they take them. This is just like the COVID season where they moved the Binghamton Devils from Binghamton into their practice facility, so the fans in Binghamton never even got to see their team in the last season before they took it out of there. They're keeping it. New Jersey's going to New Jersey. They're going to keep their guys. And, hey, that's just the way that it goes sometimes. And so I'm 100% on board with this. It's New Jersey Devils tradition to do this to their AHL affiliate. I think this is exactly how it's going to go. They're already missing enough players. Andrew mentioned that a little bit. Chase DeLeo is one of them that really stands out to me as who was a huge catalyst for them last season. They don't have him. They don't have a lot right now. And, it's all to New Jersey's benefit. They have, I'm sure you guys all heard the story about how after New Jersey was surging for so long, the fans were chanting, "Sorry, Lindy," because they're apologizing for their coach after, calling for his head after they were struggling at the beginning. My boy Vitek Vanacek's up there now. They're in good hands with their goaltenders, I think. It's all for New Jersey. It's all Devils right now. That's it.
I don't know how to respond because at first I was like, yeah, Andrew's got a lot of great points. I'm going to go with him. And then Corey chimes in with a lot of great points. And I hate to do, hey, let's revisit this twice in an episode because that's just a cop out and I'm not about to do that. But I think it's just there's so much turmoil in the bottom half of the North. And we're still looking at that expanded playoff format in play again this year. I think Utica has a chance. They still do have some good, strong players that through 10 games, are scoring at almost, they have maybe one player. No, they have two that are at or over a point per game. It's possible. I'm not going to count them out of the woods just yet. I'm going to swipe left and say that they still do have a chance.
So I'm kind of thinking that right now the midnight munch will soon be over, right? And when you talk about New Jersey, I think that you kind of have to look to some other teams who are kind of doing the same thing. Abbotsford, they kind of live sort of thing. Detroit, right? Like, these teams have really just gone to the pot because they can't really figure things out up above, right? Detroit's kind of on the mend of that. So I looked at the transactions for them. They've only made 6 in the month of November, which isn't too bad considering what we've seen out of Abbotsford this year. I'm going to swipe left just on the premise that the North Division isn't separated and they have Nico Dawes back. And hopefully if Dawes is Dawson, then they'll find a way. Otherwise, so I will swipe left, but I'm hoping that again, we can come up again and we could talk about things in March.
Good deal.
So for me, I've been kind of stewing on this. All right. And I want a solution. This all boils down to is I want a solution. Okay. We've seen a lot of PTOs over the past while. Okay. And what frustrates me is there's a right way and a wrong way to use the PTO system, right? Danny DeKaiser getting another shot. Great way to use the PTO system. Alex Galchenyuk, Corey Conacher, Anisimov. These players who, you don't really know how they're going to be. But when I see teams milking the system so they can get that player, that roster spot that they need because they're up the creek without a paddle, that's when I start to have problems. Like I know that the Marlies put Brendan Bonello, a goaltender, on a PTO because they have like 4 injuries right now. Right now they're starting their ECHL goaltender in the AHL because all 4 of them are just wiped up somewhere, right? So I guess my kind of qualm is that we have these teams that are coming in and using these for X amount of games to kind of get them that roster spot. Go to the well. Go to the ECHL. When you're pulling from the ECHL, you're pulling from the SPHL or college or something. Get someone up down the line, and let's go for that. So that's where I'm sitting. I want a solution for the PTO system because it's being milked.
You want Hockey Minds to take a risk?
In the American Hockey League?
Well, fair, but nevertheless, I mean, like, I agree with you. Like, it's the right swipe for me. I mean, more so than any other sport, it feels like this sport just recycles its talent that never really materialized. And so I hope that more of this happens. I mean, we've seen really great examples of it working. I mean, so we'll see if you're onto something here, Zach. And I mean, maybe more so than ever, like the opportunity is there when you consider, you know, the money games of it all. And so we'll see. Hopefully you're right. I'd love to see more guys from the E and more guys from just all over hockey. So it's a right swipe.
Ditto. Right swipe.
I'm just thinking of like what Grand Rapids was doing last year, which was kind of similar because they had a lot of call-ups on as well. And so they brought a lot of kids up on PTOs just to kind of fill in a lineup for a weekend or two. But the thing was that they always pulled from the Walleye, from Toledo. So they were kind of like, they kind of, you know, they had a lot of different names coming through, just trying to see like throw something at the wall and see what sticks. So maybe, you know, they could have benefited a little bit better from a more concrete system, but I mean, it would have just been the same results. They would have just been pulling guys from Toledo, pulling guys from Grand Rapids loves their Michigan State alumni as well, I've noticed. And I think it would have just been a bunch of the same names. So yeah, I'll swipe right just to maybe give it a little more structure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think back to, you know, some teams. I guess I look at it two ways. So I look at it from the perspective of like, you know, for instance, last season in Hershey, you know, they got depleted to the point where they took a couple of ECHL guys and made them full time, and it just didn't work out. And, you know, I think that's sometimes the risk factor too, is, you know, how good is your depth pool? And, you know, that's some of the variable you look at there. So I think it's a nice option to have on the table, but I agree. I think it shouldn't be milked. You know, you see on the other side where people are just signing PTOs and there are other guys that aren't getting the chances that, you know, that could prove something. So I'm going to swipe right on it just because I think that, you know, it really should lean more towards development, sort of how, you know, AHL to NHL, you know, instead of throwing that guy in a PTO, you bring up a guy from the AHL. It should kind of be the same in this league. I'm going to swipe right.
So, Zach, I do have one quick follow-up question for you from last week's swipe left, swipe right segment, where you talked about Cleveland and Charlotte's 12:31 start time and how you don't like the like on top of the hour, on the bottom of the hour starts. Does it ever bother you that we start recording at a quarter after the hour on our podcast?
I don't know why we do that. I've never, you know, last year we had such a great system. I don't know why we do it. But, you know, it's better than, like, at least it's not 7:16. We are doing this because there's 5 other people and I want to be considerate, but otherwise we are not doing this.
He said we are doing this. Oh, you guys heard it here first. The first Holy Grail merch is coming out, and it's just going to say, we are not doing this, which I think would sell. But just in every way you can.
You need a jersey.
Put it on the screen. Oh my gosh, we are not doing this. We could all have our own jersey. And we could stand in a line at the All-Star game in the fall, and we could just make it happen. I mean, listen, we'll do it in Cleveland on the 4th of March. It'll be great.
I'll get the merch people on going on that one if I can. So, all right. Well, we're going to move on for a segment we haven't talked about here in a few weeks, but it is the Wheel of Fate. So we have a quick update. Plus, we're going to have our first Rerolls on today's episode. So just kind of a quick update on the standings right now. And these points are all as of the end of the day on Sunday. So right now, Corey is in the lead with 236 points. Zach, not too far behind with 232.25 points. Behind him in third place is Jeremy with 223.5 points. Then Andrew's team, Louie, coming in at 198.25. And unfortunately, I'm bringing up the rear with the Left Nest Monster at 174. But that's going to be the first and last time you hear my team name, because both of those players I named my team after, they're going to be out here in a few minutes. But first, I'm going to go ahead and kind of re-explain our re-roll rules. So, of course, whenever we were coming up with our Wheel of Fate teams here and the system, we decided it's the American Hockey League. We have call-ups and, of course, injuries. So we're going to be a little bit kind to ourselves and not make us, roll with the same team the entire time. So the rules for that were, in the event of a call-up, we can re-roll at any time to replace that player on our roster. However, we cannot reclaim that player at any time throughout the season. Otherwise, we are allowed 5 re-rolls for, injuries, or let's say a player just isn't panning out and you need a refresh at a certain position, then you can do 5 of those throughout. So re-rolls for this week, we have Andrew. He is going to be re-rolling. He's going to be using one of his 5 on CJ Smith, which I'll let him talk about that here in just a minute. And then I'm actually going to be rolling on 2 players. One is going to be on a technicality for one of my complimentary rolls, and then another one will be one of my 5. So Andrew, I'll go ahead and let you talk about CJ Smith here, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm doing, and then we'll go ahead and get straight into our rerolls.
Yeah, well, I think it was just a little bit of beat bias in my face, because Johnny Brodzinski was right there for the taking. He was Hartford's leading scorer last year. I mean, I could have just been like, hey, why not? But I had to go with the former Chicago Wolf / Calder Cup champion. The thing was that I wasn't even like, if I wanted to go with former beat bias, I could have went with Turner Elson, and it would have been a better pick in this time. I mean, CJ Smith, who was a point-a-game player last year, has given me 5 points in 11 games and a team leading -7, leading if he were in the Masters, which he's not. This is hockey. So CJ, it was a fun year last year, but I'm going to have to move on from this relationship at this point.
Right. And for me, Matt Luff is going to be my call-up re-roll. But this is a technicality. He's actually going to be out for 10 to 12 weeks following a absolutely scary hit shortly after he was called up to the Detroit Red Wings. So, I'm going to be re-rolling one of my forward positions here. And then I'm going to roll for a new defenseman. Now, my apologies to Aaron Ness and the Hershey Bears, and to Corey, who's been trying to convince me not to do it, but I'm going to stand my ground here. But he is absolutely taking my defensive score. And with Jake Christensen being up with Columbus, but I'm a little shy to re-roll on him because I'm so high on him. I just need a nice solid bolster on the blue line. So I'll be using one of my 5 re-rolls first. So
Send it.
All right, Andrew. Your forward is coming from Lehigh Valley.
Okay.
Wait, I just realized I never shared my screen. Do you want an extra roll, or do we just say you're going to go with Lehigh Valley?
Yeah.
I just want to point out, as I was looking at the Lehigh Valley roster, that I specifically asked Corey between Cam York and Louis Belpedio. Wow. One of them is leading the Phantoms in scoring, and the other one is not. I'll give you a hint. The one who's not is on my team.
Wait, what? Louis Belpedio is doing pretty good over there, isn't he?
He's got
a couple of goals and some
points in 9 games, but Cam York's got 9 and 11. He's leading the Phantoms.
I'd still say I think Belpedio is the safe pick long term. To be honest with you, I'm not convinced it's not going to be a little bit of time before Cam York comes back up to Philadelphia, and then you'd have to re-roll again anyway.
We might have to. All right. I'm
so many picks
looking.
there. Oh man.
And don't forget, you're looking at a forward
so
here.
my forwards are all are all kind of vets, been around the block and dependable guys who, are gonna get it done. So I think I'm gonna keep up with that theme, and I'm gonna go with Cal O'Reilly.
Oh man, not Elliot Denoyer?
No, I'm keeping up with the theme.
All right, Cal O'Reilly currently has 2 goals and 5 assists. And actually looking at our kind of stream chat here, Zach is chiming, or sorry, Corey is chiming in at the last second, wanting to do a surprise reroll on Chase DeLeo. So, Corey, what's up with that?
I don't want to do it. I really don't. But like, he hasn't played since October 14th. I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. Granted, he hasn't. It's a very odd situation. So he was recalled. He's about to hit the need to pass through waivers once again to come back down. Even though he hasn't played for Anaheim, Anaheim is just kind of like, usurping all the players that I like between that and taking Brett Leeson off of waivers. I just don't see him coming back. I mean, it stinks because he has 2 goals in 1 game, but the fact that he hasn't played since October 14th, I don't know how I'm in first place with having a player that just straight up hasn't contributed much for the better part of the whole last month. So I think this is kind of just, taking some money back out of my, overflowing bank account in a sense.
All right. Well, I will do my first roll. We'll put you in between my 2 just to break it up a little bit. But here we go. I'm looking for a forward or a defenseman from, the Ontario Reign. That is a wealth of riches there. Okay, so first I need to see, does anybody have an Ontario player?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, this is going to be the greatest upgrade in the history of upgrades. I'm going to take a former fan favorite in Cleveland, such an amazing player in TJ Tynan. I would be dumb to not pick him.
I really don't like that. My team is dependent on the 2 bottom teams in the Atlantic Division. Like, entirely dependent.
I'm sorry.
Ugh.
Lehigh Valley may not be in the basement for too much longer, though, at least temporarily. I have a great bit on that coming up later on in the show.
All right. So, Corey, are you ready for your reroll on Chase DeLeo?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. We're going to go with the Bakersfield Condors.
Interesting. I can't say that I know 2 tons about Bakersfield, but let's see what we can get here. You know what? Give me Seth Griffith. I like his points. 10 points in 11 games so far. An assist guy. Plus minus isn't wonderful, but hey, it's even. Also, I'll take that. So yeah, give me Seth Griffith. That looks good.
Good NHL experience.
As long as it's not someone that gets, pulled the rug pulled out from under me again, like Chase DeLeo was. But everybody else has been carrying me pretty well.
That's almost the nice thing about doing these rerolls is you can kind of see how they're doing so far this season. You're not going based off of projections or anything like that. So, all right, real quick, I'm going to do my reroll for my defenseman. And we're going back to Grand Rapids. I have so many Grand Rapids Griffins, it seems like, on my players. I got to go with D. Andrew, I'm thinking Simon Ed. Oh, gosh. Wait, I got to see who else is. Okay.
I think Edvinson's probably going to be. You could either go with Edvinson or this past weekend, it was Jared McIsaac that was kind of quarterbacking that power play 1 unit. So, I mean, it's the problem with the Griffins isn't scoring goals. It's keeping the puck out of the net.
All right. Well, Simon Edmondson, in 9 games has 8 points, which will be a nice solid addition. I mean, it's again, my apologies to Aaron Ness, but it's way more than what he's doing. The -2 isn't going to hurt me too bad. The 12 penalty minutes is going to be useful. Yep, I think I'm going to go with that. And I almost took Jay Christensen off the list instead of Aaron Ness. That would have been bad.
You'll regret this someday.
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. So am I. I'm trusting that Berggren's coming back.
All right. So we will see if will we end up regretting any of those decisions or if these take our teams to a new level. So we're just going to move right into it because the show's running a little bit long, but it's all good. We're going to quickly look at who's hot and who's not here in the American Hockey League. Corey, we're going to start with you looking at the Atlantic Division.
Well, I finally get to talk about the Hershey Bears on the show in this category. I've been waiting forever for this, but Hendrix Lapierre and the Hershey Bears. I have a longer feature coming on about this later on, hopefully before the weekend starts. But the Bears have won 6 straight, points in 7. They've jumped into second place in the Atlantic, and a large part of that has been the rookie contributions. Hendrix Lapierre in particular. Vincent Iorio, the rookie defenseman, scored his first goal as an overtime winner back on Friday night. Lapierre's been just fantastic. He's had 6 points in his last 4 games, and they've all been clutch. He set up Shane Gersich on Friday for a big goal. He had, in a 2-1 game, he had a, Hershey's lone regulation goal on Saturday, and then he even added a multi-point game on Sunday. I mean, he just was all over the score sheet, and it's no wonder that, his line mates, Shane Gersich and Ethan Frank, they all 3 combined for 11 points over 3 games. The Bears are hot right now. I'm loving it. Give me more of this. It's, what Hershey's needed. They haven't gotten too much offense outside of their, top line or 2. So it's a big reason, and it's what we kind of expected out of them, and it's just exciting to see. And unfortunately, I had to throw it to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. We were talking about just what seemed like yesterday about how they were unbeaten, and it almost felt like they were never going to be defeated in a sense. Like it was just going to be, an ongoing thing, but they've lost 4 straight now, and they've sunk down to 6th place in the Atlantic Division, even though it's still pretty early. I don't think it's, a sign of how their season's going to go, but it's a little bit of a crash down to earth for them. They did lose Philip Hollander to recall to Pittsburgh, although they did get Sam Poulin back in exchange for him. So, it's a bit of a hot loss at this point. But, with a couple of teams below them heating up at their heels and even a couple of, teams, they're still close to everybody, so it's far from over, but the pressure is going to be on for them the next couple of games for sure.
Let's talk about the Toronto Marlies when we're talking about who's hot. I know Zach mentioned them last week, so I'm kind of double dipping here, but Toronto, I mean, they looked really, really good in Grand Rapids this last weekend. I mean, the Griffins did everything they could to make sure that they got points in both of those games, and good on them for it. But there were moments in those games where it just looked like Grand Rapids didn't know what was going on, and honestly, like between Logan Shaw, who's an animal, and Curtis Douglas, who makes Zdeno Chara look like an average-sized human being, this team is going to be a lot of fun to watch. It could be a good year for at least one Toronto-based team. So we'll see how that turns out. But let's talk quickly about who's not. It's the North Division. The North Division's not hot. It's really not this year. You've got 3 teams that are sitting over 500. Only one other division, as we record this, has a team that is not or more than one team that is not 500 rather, and that is the Pacific Division. And mind you, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams. And so things aren't looking great in the North. It's a lot of cannibalism happening there, and it just is not. We're not talking about the powerhouses like we were last year. And so the North is just not quite as hot as I'd like for them to be.
And as we move over to the Central, in case you haven't seen my feature that dropped today, Cross Hannes has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, for the Grand Rapids Griffins. And with Matt Luff, Austin Zarnik, and Jonathan Berggren all called up to Detroit, it opens up opportunities for all sorts of players. And Hannes has really taken the spotlight and has just run with it. This past weekend, he delivered with 3 points on Friday night, including the overtime winning goal as the Griffins initiated that classic 4-1 Toronto collapse. And you see here on Saturday, he scored with that your eyes aren't deceiving you. 9 seconds left on the clock to tie that one up 2-2 to send it in overtime, where, Giovanni Smith had other plans and the Griffins ended up dropping that last point. But missing all those players out of their lineup and still competing with Toronto for putting themselves in position for 4 points in the weekend. Hannes almost just put the team on his back and willed that team to a couple of those wins. So I think he's just kind of getting rolling, and with the holes in the lineup, he's just going to have more opportunities to show up and produce. Who's not? There's no easy way to say it. It's just the entire Chicago Wolves are not. And, it's going to start on Saturday where they give up 5 goals on 17 shots, including one to a goalie. And it's just it just snowballed from there. On Sunday, they give up 41 shots to the Admirals, who are just on fire this year. And, they're not scoring. They're not stopping anyone. I know that they're missing a lot of pieces. Ryan Suzuki's hurt. I know that, Ivan Ladnia's hurt. Kevin Fitzgerald's hurt. They've had a couple call-ups, but it's kind of starting to get away with them. They, with a couple of regulation losses here. I know the division's still tight. There's a lot of hockey to play. You got a new coach. You got a lot of young players that are still figuring their game out. But it's kind of starting to get away from them a little bit. So they just gotta take it one step at a time, regroup, and just try and just get back in the win column.
Not gonna lie though, that clip that we just showed, that was a nice no look drop back pass for the goal though. Can't really fault him too much on that specific one, but
credit secondary assist to Cody Beach, because the puck bounced off his skate right to Jimmy Huntington in the slot. There's just, I get it, there's not a whole lot you can do about it, but you know what you can do about it? Not give up 41 shots.
True.
On national TV too, hey?
Yeah.
For sure. Someone who's just been so hot, I can't keep my eye off him really, is got to be Brett Seney on Rockford. He's on a 9-game point streak, 14 points through that time. Good for 7th in the AHL. He had a bit of a tough go on the Marlies, I will admit, and he never really found his spot in the lineup. But here he is, and it's good to kind of see at least something good coming out of Rockford. I know that they've been struggling over the past few years. Someone who's not, honestly, in sending it back to Ontario is Belleville's back end. Just a hot mess. If you're on YouTube right now, you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. Only 3 defensemen have a plus-minus with some kind of positivity. They have others sitting at -10. There's 2 at -7 right now. Their best goaltender is an injury-prone Matt Sogard, who has a 4.01 goals against average and the best save percentage on the team with a .899. So not even saving 90% of the shots. The rest of them all have sunburns on the back of their net with the goal light going off all the time, right? So they need some kind of banana boat sponsorships or something. I don't know, but it needs to be tightened up on the back end.
Banana boat. That was good job, Zach. I love it. Well, now that we've looked at all of the action in the American Hockey League this past week, time for a quick update on the standings in the race for the Holy Grail. Once again, Corey's going to kick us off at the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, so we're in a pretty interesting spot with the Atlantic. I think say it's, probably the most unstable that it's been, so far this season. We've seen teams shift from the top to the bottom, and, it's all about the surges right now. Providence has been the team to beat the entire season. There's pretty much no question about that. They're riding the hottest streak. They're the top team in the AHL right now for good reason. They've been able to pull out a lot of wins, a lot of 1-goal games that they've been able to win. But surging up into second place by virtue of a head-to-head matchup is the Hershey Bears, who, they took 2 overtime wins and then a win on Sunday to pass over Bridgeport. But that the whole middle to the bottom of the pack here is where I want to focus on, because it's very unstable. 11 points to 18 separates, the bottom from the top. All these teams have been pretty good. Even the teams that we have been calling bottom feeders so far this year. Lehigh Valley's on a 3-game win streak. Hartford's on a 3-game point streak, 5 out of 6. They're all nipping right at Wilkes-Barre's heels, who, because they've lost 4 games in a row, are now in a position where one bad weekend is going to set them to the basement instead of one of these 2 teams. So there's a lot of instability right now that, a lot of teams are seizing opportunities. There's a lot of good head-to-head matchups coming up this weekend. A lot of very big point swing potentials that, I hate to call this early enough that you're watching territory, but, other teams may be watching to see if they may, slide up the rankings, and if they don't perform well, they're going to fall down.
Yeah, in the North, I mentioned it a little earlier, but it's just bad. In the North, you've got Toronto, who is currently at the tippy top of the CN Tower right now, and you've got the rest of the division just looking up and wishing that they were there as well. 19 points in 12 games for Toronto. They're looking great. And then you've got Rochester and Cleveland, who seem to be poised to, kind of duke it out for that, 2-3 spot, maybe for the rest of the season. Those 2 teams kind of look like they have it in them in the North. And then you get down to the bottom, and, a deceptive Utica at the bottom. They've got a 400 points percentage, but 321, the Laval Rocket. What's happening? What is going on? Not good things. Not good things at all. Deana, I hope you're not listening to this show. So things are looking rough at the bottom of the North.
As we move on over to the Central, it's not what it was last year. This is a really tight pack division, and just if you don't believe me, the top 5 teams are only separated by 3 points. We got a couple of the same suspects at the top. You got Milwaukee with 8-4 record. I think they're the best team in the division. They kind of got a bit of that last year's Chicago feel to them, the way that they just possess the puck the entire game. And if you're not convinced of that, just go take a replay of Sunday's game. Number 2, you got the Manitoba Moose that are right on their heels. Then you got they're tied there with the Texas Stars. They're at 3. They started off hot. They've kind of fell off a little bit, but they're still hanging right around in the 3 spot. At number 4, the Iowa Wild. I guess it's just that kind of year. They've got points in 5 straight games, including 4 wins. I guess they just really haven't been paying attention to me, that they just really belong in the basement all year. And tied up with them, Grand Rapids Griffins. They've, after an 8-game road trip, after all those call-ups, they're still kind of hanging in there. You got Rockford sitting there at 6, and then 7 is just a complete flip of the script with the Chicago Wolves still trying to figure out their game there at the basement of the Central.
Yeah, and there's lots of potential to shift in the Pacific Division as well, with a few teams down 2 games, and with the top teams on thin ice, to say. A stunning 7-3 record for the Coachella Valley Firebirds, the cleanest spots in the division right now, but are down a few points due to the lack of games played. A 3-way tie has us in first place, all at 15 points, are Bakersfield, Ontario, and Colorado. As we go down the list, that's where we find the aforementioned Coachella Valley. Then it's Tucson, Calgary, San Jose, and Abbotsford. In the under 500 club, it has San Diego with a 5-8 record, and the lowly Henderson Silver Knights, who may have some help with Brossois coming down, although he hasn't been playing so good. And they're at 3-10. So in baseball terms, we'd say that they're only down by about 4.5 games.
Now we're going to look ahead at the guys' game of the week picks for the coming week in American Hockey League action.
Yeah, so I have 2 games of the week on my side of things, and it's all kind of following along the script of what I was saying about the division race in the Atlantic. The biggest one I want to focus on is, if you're a Philly guy like me, it's very fitting this weekend's set of games between the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and the Providence Bruins. So it's a pair of games that way, but it's a Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed type of matchup that we got going on. You can hear Gonna Fly Now in the background of this whole thing. The Phantoms, I love the Phantoms for this game, to be honest with you. They're feeling it. They're running up the stairs, before this matchup type of thing. They've won 3 games in a row. They have 3 big guys coming down from the Flyers in Artem Anisimov, Patrick Brown, Tanner Lazinski. We're all assigned to Lehigh Valley. They're hot. Their rookie players are coming up huge. I'm looking at Cam York. I'm looking at Elliot Denoyer and Ronnie Addard. They've all been fantastic, chipping in points and goals, and the veterans have been coming through for them in a lot of ways here too. And for Providence, Providence is the Apollo Creed. They're the top dog, but there's a lot to, that I think kind of goes beneath the score sheet of saying, they're 7-0-1 or, whatever it's been here for them, 8 games at least with a point. They haven't lost in like three or 4 weeks, I think, at this point. But it's all been close games. It's been 1-goal games. It's been, really tight contests. And, they're down a goaltender. Kyle Kaiser got hurt a week or so ago. Brandon Busey's been fantastic. He's one of the top goaltenders in the league. But Friday night will be his 10th game that he's ever played in the AHL. So it's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy. Obviously, he's been doing it for his whole career. We're going to have a good in-depth look at that matchup coming up here. So I just like Lehigh Valley to, really take a good stab at this one. And, if they were to win and get 4 points in this matchup, they'd move out of the basement into the, the middle of the pack, essentially, with the standings here. And on the other side of the token, it's Hershey and Wilkes-Barre. I could say this every time that these guys play. But, when the Bears and the Penguins first met, it kind of started opposite trends. The Bears were sagging. The Penguins were, excelling. Now it's kind of the opposite, and it's been because of these matchups. The Bears started winning. The Penguins started losing right after those matchups. I think it's going to be another test of one team saying, we want to stay on top, another team saying, we want to get out from under the bottom. And they're both feeling the pressure of the Lehigh Valley Providence matchup is going on at the same time that, hey, we want to keep pace here. So I think it's both 2 great matchups. If you have 2 screens, watch both games. Honestly, it's going to be a fantastic set of games.
Yeah, a lot of fun going on over in the Atlantic this weekend. And I'm going to take it to the other side of the country, over there to the West Coast, for Coachella Valley and for Colorado. Coachella Valley, to me, quite the surprise this year, although I think it was Andrew maybe earlier in the season that said that we should have our eyes out for him. But, I kind of took it as Potts bias at that point in time. But, it seems like hey, it's all love. It seems like at this point in time, he was on to something, because they look really good. Colorado is also a 7-win team right now as we record, and it's just going to be fun to see those 2 teams meet up, and it'll be a nice little change for me to stay up a little late to watch some AHL hockey this weekend.
Well, I'm definitely staying up late for this game of the week here, because we're going all the way. Even though it's a Central Division, we're going to the West Coast, and it's going to be Grand Rapids going into San Diego for a weekend series. Now, these 2 teams met over opening weekend, and one of the highlights of it was Josh Healy throwing a really dangerous hit on Jonathan Berggren. And I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be some bad blood going in with some hockey for one team that really kind of needs some separation in the Central Division, another team that really needs to climb back up in the standings. But, Lucas Dostal just won Player of the Week. He's on fire. I already mentioned the Cross Hannah show has arrived. I think there's going to be some fireworks going over there in San Diego. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and you know what? Staying in the Pacific Division on that side of things, give me Ontario and Henderson this weekend. And I want to see some Brossoit action here. I want to see him actually almost win a game for the Silver Knights. 9 goals against in his first 2 AHL games this year at .767 save percentage, mind you. He's a little injury prone, which is not looking good. But, at least they have a clearance section goaltender for the Silver Knights who actually might get them a win here. And, if they can't strike goal, well, then hopefully they can strike the goal. And we'll see what happens there in that series.
Do we have any school day games next week? I know there's 2 the week that this episode's going out.
We do. We have an early morning game for the Springfield Thunderbirds coming up on Wednesday afternoon. Well, I guess by the time this episode, it has been in the past by this point, but yeah, coming up on Wednesday, it's the Springfield Thunderbirds and the Syracuse Crunch, 10:35 a.m. start time. That's we are not doing this from me, to be honest with you, but I'll be there. I'll be following along from my desk. A very fun start time, to say the least. It's gonna be fun. That's for sure.
And also, what would have been yesterday, Grand Rapids will also be hosting the Rockford Ice Hogs. So I'll be listening to some ear-piercing screams while I'm sitting at work.
At least that was at 11 o'clock.
I know. I was trying to decide if I could get over there on my lunch break.
Keep us posted,
Do
Jeremy.
they serve beer at school day games?
I've never been there to see it, but I would guess no.
I would say no, but genuine question.
So Jeremy has to go on his lunch break now to find out.
Looks like I'm covering it, guys.
I will
Looks like I'm down.
Yes. All right. And then Corey has some details on the AHL free game of the week.
Yeah, we got some free hockey for you on Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's the San Jose Barracuda and the Tucson Roadrunners. The third installment of the season series. The last time out was a pretty interesting one, to say the least, as there was a full line brawl at the opening face-off, and I don't think we're going to see that again. I mean, it's certainly, come for that billing, stay for the show, see what happens. It should be a pretty good contest there, and it's free. You don't have to pay a dime to see it, so you have no excuse not to. I'm staying up late for it. It's going to be going on for me after my games conclude there for sure. So very much looking forward to that one on Saturday.
And folks, this weekend on the Field Pass Hockey app, boy, oh boy, we have yes, make it rain. I want you to download the app right now on the Apple iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, wherever you get your apps, because we got the action here. This weekend's matchups are between the 7-5 Bridgeport Islanders and their 6-6 Charlotte Checkers at 7 Eastern on Friday. Saturday, we're live from the home of the AHL's offices in Springfield, as the Falcons will take on. I said the Falcons. They're the Thunderbirds now. Holy, I'm dating myself here. That's at 7:05, but you're going to want to tune in at a normal time, like 7 p.m. Catch that 5 minutes before, because if you come 5 minutes late, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, we are not going to do that. We are not going to tune in at 7:05. And Monday has the Penguins and the Checkers from Bojangles at a crisp 7:00 Eastern time.
Gotta love the biscuit.
I am waiting with bated breath for the Bojangles to be built just a few miles from my house. I cannot wait to try it for the first time. So
it's okay. It's I'm so excited about it.
All of
the talk about it. It's fine.
And you tell me that it's just okay? Jeez, thanks, Jeremy.
I hope your experience is different.
We will see. All right, we're going to move real quick into the bonus round, where we're going to go back a couple weeks ago where Andrew won the round. So he's going to lead us off this one. But shout out to Zach, who came in clutch last week. Great job covering for us. But Andrew, you have the honors.
Yep. All right. So as we kind of alluded to earlier in this episode, on Monday, Pyotr Kochetkov had his first NHL shutout for the Carolina Hurricanes as they blanked the Blackhawks 3-0 in the United Center. Now, this was kind of a special game because he had a lot of his teammates on the Carolina roster that hoisted the Calder Cup with him this past summer, and I kind of was a little curious and see if anyone knew or had maybe a lucky guess. How many Calder Cup champions were on Carolina's roster on Monday night in the lineup? Healthy scratches don't count.
4.
We got a 4 from Deana.
I'll go lucky 13.
I'm going to go with 7. I'm going to go with 7.
7 for Corey.
I don't want to $1 myself, but I'm thinking 3. 3 was because I feel like you wouldn't ask us this question if it weren't extremely low. Well, and also on top of that, though, the affiliation changed too.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't help things.
All right.
I'm gonna say 2, so I don't give me 1. I'll give myself a gap of 2.
All right. Zach?
I lucky number 13.
13. All right. He's going high. All right. Well, as we know, Kochekov, he hoisted the cup. Jack Drury was also in the lineup. Steph Nason is now a regular for the Hurricanes, as is Jalen Chatfield. And on Monday, Max Lajoie was also called up. And because of my wording, I can't split it between Corey and Deana because Marty Natchez won with the Charlotte Checkers in 2019. So technically, Corey takes that one.
Good job, Corey. Good job.
I
remember all the pain of playing that Charlotte Checkers team in 2019. That's where I'm saying I know that from.
Fair enough.
All right, so stick around. Corey's going to have the reins for the bonus round next week. Is it going to be Nathan Walker inspired again? Hershey Bears inspired again? We'll see. We'll see. But that's going to be it for the Holy Grail this week. If you would like to see or hear more of us, please subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter. You know by now how it's spelled, but it's the Holy Grail, GrAHL. You can also check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other podcasts, including Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, Syracuse Speaks with Alexander Ackerman. Now, Syracuse Speaks is a Syracuse Crunch-centric podcast that, in Alex's words, focuses on maintaining a balanced perspective in the ever-shifting world of minor league hockey. And also, brand new in the Field Pass Hockey Network, join Matthew Harding and Jason Miles as they break down the ECHL's Wichita Thunder and chat with some of the team's legendary players. The Rolling Thunder podcast airs bi-weekly on the Field Pass Hockey Network. And on behalf of all of us here at the Holy Grail, we hope you have an amazing week, and we're going to catch you next Thursday. Bye.
This has been the Holy Grail Podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.
Just watch that Karma says, no, you will stick with a Hershey defenseman, and I'll re-roll and it'll be Hershey. That is going to be my luck.
See,
you have a couple options.
Yeah.
I'm just being problematic and know that if I don't re-roll, then I'm going to feel left out. I'm going to feel excluded. I'm going to have FOMO.
Private
Guys, I'm so dumb. I'm so stupid. My brain for some reason thought that he asked us how many people were still on that Checkers team.
Oh,
which is why I said the thing about a shift in affiliation. I was like, it can't be high. And then Zach said 13. I'm like, are you kidding me, Zach?
I was thinking dual color cups, right? I figured that they had some grads and then everybody else who got traded who had a color cup on another team. So
Sure.
it's that's got to be 4 from each, maybe, right?
Man, wow, that was impressive even for me.